So it's Friday evening. I'm just finishing up, having had quite an interesting week. We're 100 days, just over 100 days into being a backbench MP, and there's no guide, there's no rule book on what you should do as a backbench MP when there's a national crisis. So I thought it'd be interesting to just do a very short video on how I've structured myself and my team. Uh, we decided very, very early on that we needed to be responsive and forward facing as best we could. As said in my maiden speech, healthcare taught me one thing in particularly, that help those who can't and facilitate those who can. And so with that ethos, we put a structure together of looking at three different aspects: organising, communicating and problem solving, or at national, regional and local levels. And I'm so grateful to Tim, Victoria, Leon and Richard, who are my team, who've helped us do that. We've had over 500 contacts and we've managed to get back out information to people and try and solve their problems, or at least get started on them, all within that week. Which is an incredible effort on their behalf, so I'm incredibly grateful to them. But what does that actually look like? Well, in terms of the organisational side, it's talking about communication lines, be it how we're going to deal with the CCGs, how you speak to Cabinet Office, how you speak to ministers, but also locally. I wrote to all the councillors, parish, borough and county councillors to make them aware of what we're up to, asked them to organise the volunteers network, and spoke to the CEO of our borough council, and that's all up and running for both people who are volunteering and also for people who are vulnerable. And so that's been really important, because Leicestershire is a couple of weeks behind London, so anything we do now could save lives. That leads on to communication. I think that's really important, both what government's doing and getting out information to the public. So we've done letters to the Hinckley Times, I've done local newspapers and local radio and then national radio talking about the message. We've done podcasts to try and get information out. But then finally, problem solving, and this one's the key one. It's anything from speaking to the police inspector to say how they're going to interpret laws, which means I needed to speak to the policing minister to get that information down. We had problems getting PPE, so it's speaking to the primary care minister to get that organised, feeding into the daily Cabinet Office meetings that are happening about interpretations on the ground of what could really be going on. And all amongst this, we're having hundreds of people get in contact who are concerned about their livelihoods and their health. And so feeding in issues around certain sectors, the self-employed was a big one, feeding in up to the Chancellor, and I'm really glad his measures came out that made a difference. So all of this goes on in your mind, and it's trying to compartmentalise it and work your way through it in the hope that we can actually do some good. This is why you go into politics, to try and make a difference, and I hope that that is the case, that we're doing it. We're just at the start. There's a lot more to go. There's a long way to go, and it's a steep learning curve. But I hope that giving you a little bit of understanding of how we're working in my office might give you an insight of how we're going to carry things forward.